Did you guys see Hector Lombard versus Joe Riggs? So they fight over the weekend in bare knuckle boxing, which I've got to tell you right from the jump, that's an interesting fight. That's a really interesting match because Hector Lombard is just mean enough. And Joe Riggs is just skilled enough. Joe's a good boxer. He used to box when he was younger. If you'll remember, when Joe Riggs beat Nick Diaz, it never went to the ground. It stayed on the feet the whole time. Joe Riggs is a good boxer, point being, right? So these guys go out and box, and one of Joe's cornermen, now the fight's over, picture this. The fight's over. Hector's got his top on, get ready to do the announcement. And one of Riggs's cornermen gets face-to-face with Hector and says something. But he's definitely and very much in Hector's personal space, which is the problem. I don't like when somebody gets hit. I don't like when these things happen. Two fighters fight and they're not in a controlled atmosphere. I just don't like that stuff. The guy did get into Hector's face and said something. Boom, boom. Hector hits him twice. Now, the guy took him very well. Do we have a future fight down the road? We'll see. The most interesting part is Joe Riggs. Okay, stay with me here. Joe Riggs just fought Hector. Joe Riggs is the one that grabs Hector and breaks the fight up, like moves, hey, whoa, calm down. And Hector was respectful. He listened to the guy who he just went to war with. The whole thing was very interesting. So who's at fault, right? In the court of Chael over here, who's at fault? Had a similar situation. You guys know Ronaldo. He's the 17-time world champion Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He makes the funny videos. I knew those videos were meant to be funny, but I, to this day, don't know where the seriousness stops and the humor begins, in that Ronaldo is legit. I know he's a brown belt. I knew him when he was a brown belt, and that was back in 2012. He might be a black belt by now. My point is, he chose to go into comedy. He chose to be the 17-time champion. He chose to do these things, but he's somewhere legit, and he cares about the sport. So I had met him one time. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. And he even said something to me like, hey, if I come after you, are we good? And I was like, oh, absolutely. Whatever you got, bring it. So fast forward, it's like 6, 7, 8 months later, I'm at a Metamoris, and I grapple Andre Galvao. And when the match is over, I go to shake Galvao's corner. I remember Keenan Cornelius was there, and whoever the cornermen were, but Ronaldo was in his corner. And Ronaldo, when I get to him, now this is after competition, right? This is procedure. So even though I had told him anything's fair game, and I do mean that, I guess I didn't. I guess I didn't mean it, because there are some things that are procedural, where sport comes in front of entertainment. And shaking hands after a match in a grappling contest is part of procedure. So when I go to shake hands, I go down the line, he's the last one, and we're on camera, and he folds his arms up and he turns away from me. And he must have seen something in my eye to know I did not like that. And I turned around when he stiffed me. And that's always been like a thing for me. If I try to shake someone's hand and they refuse to shake my hand, that's like a thing, right? For whatever reason, for whatever silly reason, I don't know. That has always bothered me. That has never gone over well when I say, hey, nice to meet, whatever it is, and my hand's left hanging there, and they see it. It's a thing. So I turned around, and as I turned around, I thought about and did not. I thought about throwing a back kick right in his face. I was that upset. Oh, you're going to, I thought about turning around and just throwing a kick at him. I felt as though he went first, as though he'd assaulted me. Now, I do not believe that with a cool mind. That would have been a scumbag move by me, and I'm very glad I did not do it. But at that time and caught up in that moment, and I will share with you, you are not yourself after battle. Like you've seen guys get on the microphone and go, give me Francis Ngannou, or, something along these lines. You're going, what was your name again, kid? Are you even a heavyweight? Right, it's one of these things, but you're caught up in this moment. It's real. You've got adrenaline. You just got to calm down. That doesn't matter in victory or defeat. You need a little bit of time. You need a good 30, 40 minutes. I remember the night that Deontay Wilder fired his cornerman, the only responsible cornerman he had, by the way, fired his cornerman in the locker room on the spot for stopping the fight against Tyson Fury. I remember thinking, sure he did. He's all worked up. You got to blame somebody. cooler heads will prevail. They never did. So I share that with you because there is a little bit of a time lapse. Hector got confronted when Hector is in this very bizarre state of mind, right? He's got all sorts of adrenaline. He was just attacked. Now he's got somebody that squared up with him, who, by the way, is much bigger than him, and said something. And I don't know who this guy was, by the way, but I can tell you by the way he took the punches and began to roll in case a couple more were coming. He's somebody. The dude knows what he's doing. And Hector probably knew what he was, and Hector probably felt threatened. And ultimately, all of these situations come down to state of mind. Do you guys remember 3-piece and a soda? Right, of course you do. George Masvidal could not have been more wrong in that situation. He could not have possibly been more wrong, but he was astute. He was astute on how assault charges work. And he knew it is frame of mind. I watched Masvidal. Oh my God, it was impressive. They asked him about this 3-piece and a soda. Now that could have warranted a review. That could have warranted sanctioning by the governing body, who, even though that was done internally, that could have been done by the UFC itself. I mean, that was not a great moment. And Masvidal did an interview talking about how scared he was and how these hoodlums, this is a word he used, approached him. And he thought they were getting ready to rob him. Now, of all the things he said, hooligans is probably my favorite, but maybe not, because it might be that I thought they were going to rob me, because he didn't have anything on. He had on a cup and a pair of shorts. He didn't have a watch. He didn't have he didn't even have shoes on. You guys remember this interview? He hasn't even put his shirt on yet. He said he thought maybe they were getting ready to rob him. So he took out the first one, right? That was Leon. That's where the 3 pieces and the soda came in. I mean, it was just a genius at work who never cracked, never broke character. And that whole thing went away. It just went away. Because there's not a lot you can do. And if Hector looked threatened, that might seem like an extreme approach to you. I'm just sharing with you, he's in an altered state of mind. That isn't regular Hector Lombard, who, by the way, it's not really a great idea to get into regular Hector Lombard's face and start saying something when you're bigger than him and trained. Hector may respond that exact same way. I'm just sharing with you, things are a little bit different. Now, whether the jury wants to take that into account or not, it is true. It is very much true. There was another one that happened over the weekend with Joe Schilling. Joe Schilling's in a bar, and somehow, like, the camera, or I assume it's like surveillance footage, happens to be rolling. Some guy says something, Joe turns around, the guy flinches him, and Joe has a natural reaction. Joe is a trained kickboxer, right? Your natural reaction, you might look at it and think that was excessive. But what's your natural reaction? Grab the guy? Push the guy away? Probably yell at the guy is probably a more natural reaction. He's a trained kickboxer. This is what he does. Coach works with him hours a day. Somebody flinches you, boom, boom. You might like it, you might not. But it also comes back to what your mother told you before you ever left the house. Don't get into it with anybody. You don't know who's who. Be polite. Mind your own business. Keep distance. Walk away. In many ways, I don't know if I have a final opinion, but I will share with you, it seems as though our mothers were right.